Welcome back to another episode of Mimi's Musings podcast. I'm your host, Gongo Mildred, and I'm so happy that you've joined me on another Wednesday for another amazing episode. I feel like it has been so long since I did this, like recorded, and it has only been 2 weeks. Yeah, because I think the last time I recorded was on the 6th. It feels like it's so long ago. I don't know why. I feel like because my life is sort of stagnant, things are just happening and time is just like jumbled up to me. So no matter what is happening, I feel like it's all just like something that happened yesterday or the day before yesterday feels like it could have happened 1 week or 2 weeks ago. So I don't know. I feel like it has been such a long time since I recorded, and as I said, only 2 weeks. Yeah. And actually, before I get into this episode, last Wednesday's episode came a bit late because I usually put them up by 10 a.m. in the morning, at 10 a.m. in the morning. But last Wednesday's came out at 4:40 p.m. Reason being, our electricity went off from Sunday, like Monday, because it was at 3 a.m. on Sunday morning. So disappeared, came back on Wednesday at 2 p.m. to something actually p.m. So that's when, because I had recorded this on the 6th, as I said, I didn't edit it on time because I had so many things going on. I don't know, like I kept just having trouble after trouble after trouble. So, and my mind was just not into it. That Monday when the lights went off, that's when I was to edit it. And then actually both Wednesday and Saturday, and then put them up online by either Monday evening or Tuesday latest so that it can be ready by Wednesday. On Sunday when I was going to bed, that's when the electricity went. I had just gotten up to brush my teeth and, prepare for bed, and then the lights went off. I was watching something, and then I was like, okay, because now I can't switch off the laptop, let it just continue shining some light in the house while I do my, brushing my teeth, blah, 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 before I go to bed. So I do that. I leave it on, brush my teeth, do what I need to do, and then the episode finished because it was remaining like 12 minutes or something. And then I go to bed. A little bit of the battery was used that night or that morning. Then I went to bed, but it wasn't a lot because it wasn't like more than 20 minutes. So I just shut it and I went to bed. Next day I wake up and I'm like, okay, let me edit it. And the next one, so that by the time the lights come back, because I was thinking they'll come back by 6 p.m. Usually when they're doing a maintenance, the power maintenance, lights go off by I think 9 a.m. or something like that. They come back by 6. So I was like, since I've moved to this place 10 plus years ago, we have never gone like a full day without electricity. So it will go like in the morning, by evening it will be back. Or it will go sometime at night and it will be back by morning. So it has never gone like for 3 days like it did this time. So I was thinking, let me edit. When the lights come back on, I'll, finish up and then put them up on YouTube. That is not what happened. Electricity did not come back that Monday. And the battery that I had in my laptop, I was only able to edit Wednesday's show. And then it told me, bye-bye. Yeah, battery ran out. Which worried me because it's supposed to last at least 6 hours, or even if not 6 hours, at least 4 hours. But it didn't even finish like 2 hours. So I was like, okay. So I let it go. I was like, let me shut it off right now. When the power comes back at 6, I'll continue, edit the second one, blah, blah, blah. Lights did not come back on Monday, did not come back on Tuesday. They came back on Wednesday. And I was like terrified when I woke up in the morning. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Because I told myself, even if I wake up on Wednesday morning and I find that the lights have come back on, I'll just do the needful because I needed to put it on CapCut and then upload it on YouTube. But then I couldn't because lights came back in the afternoon. So I'm sorry that it delayed, but at least I put it up, which is what matters most. So, okay. And then Saturdays, I had to work on it quickly just in case there's a repetition of what happened on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And it's because some other places in my neighborhood still do not have lights from then. So I'm just hoping that that will not happen again. Like we're having water issues and now we're having electricity issues. Like, It's too much. It's too much. And I think the only thing that is giving me some reassurance is that I'm not the only person who's going through this. Like, I have neighbors, other people in the whole estate. There are other people who are going through the same thing. And it's not good, but at least it makes me feel like, yeah, I'm not the only one who's struggling. So I hope that this week I'll do better and I'll be able to upload it by Monday at least, because I'm recording this on Saturday. This is the 19th. It's already Sunday actually. It's 2 a.m. So it's already Sunday. I'm recording it now. And then hopefully I'll edit it tomorrow or on Monday. And if there's a delay again, please forgive me, because honestly, I don't know. I can only do so much. Bear with me. That's what I can say. But I'll try. I'll try to edit it tomorrow so that I can be able to post them like by Monday. Hopefully, the lights will behave. We'll still have electricity and there'll be no problems. Okay, let's go to today's episode. On today's episode, I'm giving a review of the Kenyan movie Rise of the Phoenix. Rise of the Phoenix is a 2023 Kenyan film written by Glory Kawira, directed by Ngumi Wangombe, and produced by Wilson Osiolo and Ngumi Wangombe. The cast members include Terry Ndai, she plays Ajabu Olailepo. Maureen Koech plays Hali Olailepo. Collins, I think it's Likavo, plays Captain Moses Olailepo. That is, Hali and Moses are Ajabu's parents. Glory Kawira plays June Sanaipei Olowauru. Nancy Dulo Ogege plays Naipanoi Olowauru, that is Sanaipei's mom. Nancy Kirimi plays Esther. Fanuel Mbusi plays Lenana. Mary plays Nkalem, amongst other cast members. It's a not so long list, but it has other people. So go and watch it. Now, if you love spoilers like me, continue with this, continue listening to this, continue watching this. If you do not like spoilers, leave right now. Go to YouTube, not Netflix. Watch the movie Rise of the Phoenix. Then come back here and tell me if you agree with me or not, because this is the official spoiler alert. I was thinking about watching something for today. And because on Netflix, I told you, like, I think on Netflix, I'll start watching the series that are there. And then I can come and give a review of 2 episodes per episode. Like, per review episode, I give 2 episodes of the show on Netflix. But then I was like, okay, there's Toxic, Jackie Matubias, which is on YouTube. And I was like, maybe I can watch that. But then I looked for another movie and I found this one. And honestly, I didn't feel like watching it because the synopsis wasn't really something to go on. It was very short and I didn't Google it. I just saw it on YouTube. And then I was like, okay, let me just download it and watch it later. Then I'll decide. But then I saw the first part of it and it felt like it was like somebody was giving birth. And I was like, okay, maybe it's a story. And because of the picture was on the screen, I was like, okay, maybe this woman gave birth and she went through a lot, blah, blah, blah. Like, I didn't really know what it was about until I started watching it. And anyway, the movie Rise of the Phoenix follows this young girl called Ajabu. So the movie starts, as I told you before, like there's this girl who we found out later that it's Sanaipei. She's being held by these women and there's a woman in front of her, in between her legs with something. And so what we found out after is that they were performing FGM on her, which, as I said before, I thought it was giving birth. But then I found out that no, it was actually FGM, a very serious topic, yeah. And so they do what they do. They cut her and she started bleeding. And it was so excessive that even while they were taking her away to go and continue performing their rituals, blah, 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 they're singing, they're dancing, and they're doing whatever, but she's just not feeling it. And then I think they were told to stand up for something, and then Sanaipei collapses, and it appears that she's dead. Her and another girl, so 2 of them. So they are covered up, and the mom is there screaming and crying, and later on she wakes up. So the mom calls an ambulance and rushes her to the hospital, where the doctor says no about treating her, because apparently it is illegal for a doctor to treat somebody who has had FGM done on her, because it looks like you are complicit to whatever happened to that person. And I tried to Google it, but then it tells me that if you're doing reconstructive surgery, that is allowed. But if it's anything to aid the performance of FGM, then it's illegal. And I'm like, shouldn't that have been treated like a reconstruction? Because she was bleeding. She was bleeding out, and the doctor just looked at her and was like, yeah, no, I cannot do this. And the mom tried to go, like, what if it was your daughter? The doctor said, I will never put my daughter through that. And I'm like, that was such a bad thing, because he could have saved her. But then he was like, no, they might take my license and stuff. So anyway, Sanepe dies at the hospital. The mom screams, slaps her, telling her to wake up, to be a woman, to be strong, and all of these things. And then we move 2 months back, and then that's where we meet Ajabu and the dad and the mom, and they're playing chess. Ajabu was at the hospital, by the way, because Sanepe is her cousin, and she was crying, telling her not to leave her. And Sanepe was just like, I'm a woman now. Like, I did the thing and I'm a woman. I can do this. But then she passes on. So we move 2 months ago, we meet the Olailepo family. They're in the house. She was playing chess with her dad, and she wins a few, but then the dad calls checkmate. I think he's the one who won eventually. And the mom comes and goes like, we need to eat before the food gets cold. And so Ajabu goes like, our visitors are not yet here. The mom goes like, well, we can't wait because the food will get cold, as I said. So they sit down at the table, they serve food, they pray. She prays, actually. Ajabu prays for the meal, and they start eating. After a while, the door is knocked, and the mom goes to open the door, and it's the visitors they were waiting for, who happen to be the dad's sister and her daughter, Sanaipe. So they had been just having a slight argument. That is the mom and the dad, Ajabo's parents, because Captain Moses is a captain, like in the military, and he's supposed to go back to the battlefield to fight, the Al Shabaab and stuff. And so the wife is upset with him because why did he tell her earlier of what he was going to do? And so when the sister comes in, she sits at the table. Actually, they go to the kitchen first because she had come with some food in a cooking pot. And so the sister goes like, well, I have some maca, you can heat the food, but I don't think she did. So they go and sit down, they start eating. People are serving themselves from that mini pot. And I'm like, what's happening? Anyway, because they weren't living in the same place. The family, the Olailepo family, was living in the city. These guys had come from the village. So you came with food in a pot from the village to whatever city they were in. So that's what. Anyway, from the interaction, you can tell that the sister is not a fan of Harley. Even when they were in the kitchen, she was apologizing, telling her, you're a good woman, until they go back to the table and she hears that the brother is going back to battle. And she calls Nali, like, you demon of death and destruction, because Ajabu actually asked the dad, like, do you go out there to kill people who look like mom? And the sister was just like bad. The way she was talking to Harley, it was just negative. And she actually said those words and in their mother tongue, which was Masai, what they were talking. And Moses actually ended up snapping at her. She's insulting his wife in their own home. So anyway, eventually the man leaves, goes to battle, and the sister is the one who takes him to the barracks or something, and the wife does not get to go. So they come back and they're living together in their home because apparently he was supposed to help finish building the sister's house in the village or something like that. You should watch it to understand. But anyway, so they start living together in that house while the husband is away. So the sister is always like talking down at Harley, and she was just a bad person, a bad seed. And then one time she's in the living room watching news, and there's a report that there's a helicopter that went down, a helicopter or a plane that went down in, I think it was Somali, while they were fighting Al Shabaab. It was bombed down. And so the sister goes like, maybe it's not him. And so they pray and they're thinking, yeah, it cannot be. Which was surprising because usually they announce which, like the barracks unit or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being, I don't know. But maybe they shouldn't announce. But I thought that they should have known or at least guessed something. Anyway, a couple of days later, these other captains come with a Kenyan flag, blah, 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 the way they do it in movies. And they talk to her and they tell her her husband has passed and they're very sorry, blah, blah, blah. They give her the flag, they come in, they give her the flag. And then later on, these guys move, they go to Matatu and they move to the village. All of them, the four of them. And my question was, why would you take you and your child to a village where you know the woman who's taking you there does not want you there in the first place? Like what would make you even feel like going there? Why would you go there? But anyway, they're living there and this woman does not like her at all. But Ajabu is not happy being there. Sanepe is still alive at that time, so she and Ajabu, they're happy, they're cousins, they keep talking, blah, blah, blah. And she's waiting for the day that she becomes a woman, that is Sanepe. But Ajabu is not into it because she's a city girl. She's not used to being in the village. But the mom is just like, okay, we have to get used to this. You cannot hate me, blah, blah, blah. Then, the day that the ceremony was supposed to happen, it did not. And Sanepe tells that to Ajabu later on. And Ajabu wanted to be there to see what was happening, but the mama denied her the permission to go. So Sanepe tells Ajabu like it did not happen and she was ready for it. She wanted it to happen. And the way they even treated, like she had her hair shaved for this ceremony. And I think Awira actually, the actor who plays Sanepe, I think her hair was shaven clean, like with a razor blade, my God. But anyway, so apparently it was Hali, that is Ajabu's mom, who had called the police to come and stop this ceremony. So the aunt, Ajabu's aunt, Sanepe's mom, that is Naipanoi, she comes into the house and starts blaming Hali and calling her names. She kept calling her a prostitute. I was like, why would you call her a prostitute? And she has done nothing to show you that. Just because she does not agree with your culture and your customs, you shouldn't be calling her names. Like, it was just a bizarre thing to do. But anyway, they talk there and she insults her and asks her to leave or else she's going to call the other women on her. So this woman behaves crazy, like highly. I hated the way she acted, but I'll talk about it at the end. So she goes back to her little village home and she starts checking on this book. She's read poems for her daughter or something. And then she sees a letter from her husband, I think. And then she takes her kibeti with money and she leaves. Actually, she was supposed to leave, but she didn't because the next scene is the women coming to take her from her house and chasing her out and telling her to leave and never come back. So she's running because at this time, Jabu was with her cousin outside there talking. So she runs and runs around, I don't know where. And then eventually she meets with Ajabu and she talks to her and tells her, like, I'm leaving, but I'll come back for you. I cannot go with you right now. I need to go and see how things are. And then I'll come back for you. This is your home. These are your people. They'll take care of you. And I'm like, why would you do that? This woman hates you. You know what she's about to do to her own daughter. And you're willing to leave your daughter with her, even though she's not of age. Like, I think Sanepe was 16. I think they said she was 16. But Ajab was still younger. So she couldn't have been ready for that ceremony. But still, if they could do it to their own children, what makes you think they couldn't do it to yours? And by the way, Sanepe was already sold to an old mzee who was looking for the seventh wife. He had already brought like a bracelet for her and, cattles and stuff like that. I'm like, what the hell? So she leaves and disappears. She is not seen again until the end. So Ajabu, of course, she's upset. Now she does not want to get out of bed, blah, blah, blah. Sanepe comes and calls her to go to the ceremony because it's happening. And so she goes. Sanepe leaves for the ceremony, but Ajabu follows later. She undergoes that, and then how the movie started, we go back to that she dies. So now that she's dead, and Ajabu is the one who's living with the aunt now, the mzee who was who wanted to marry Sanepei, he comes back to that home, insults Nepanoi, asking her where her husband is. Like, this is why you do not make deals with women, because what is happening? I need to have married, blah, blah, blah. You promised me your daughter and now she's not here. You're telling me that she's dead. What do you mean? And all of these other things. If you do not provide for me a girl within a week, I'm going to come back here and burn your house down. So they leave, and this woman tells him, like, don't worry, there's another girl here. She's going to be your wife. This girl is not even 12 or 13. Hey, yo. So anyway, she had ran off towards it is a water body. I don't know. Maybe it's something, usually a river or something, but it was during a low season. I don't know. But it was a water body and she was playing chess there, remembering her dad. And then she just gets upset, takes the whole chess thing and throws it into the water. Then she goes back. Then they are preparing for the ceremony. They are sat down, being talked to by these older women, telling them about what they're supposed to expect and stuff. She and the girls that were there, they ran away. They catch her, they take her to her aunt. The aunt almost beats her up. But then the next day, she's ranting about how, she's not a good woman. Like, do you think that I brought you here because I'm a good woman, or I wanted you to stay here because I'm a good woman? I'm not a good woman. And she says all of these things to this kid, and the kid is just sat there listening. Eventually, she walks off. She's still playing with other kids and stuff. The next day, the aunt leaves and tells her that she's going, I don't know, to go and see her husband's people. And then she'll be back the next day. And I'm like, this is a young girl. How are you living not even a teen, by herself in a homestead, after she told her that in this area, young women, young girls are usually sexually assaulted a lot. And that FGM protects them from that. So if there's a danger of being sexually assaulted, why are you leaving this child alone at home? And then she goes like, okay, so my friends want to spend the night. And she goes like, the boys can't, but the girls can. She leaves. Again, we're back at that place, the ceremony, and they're preparing them again. They're dancing and they're singing and they're forcing her to do that. She didn't want to. This is a jabu. So the way she was looking to her left, I was like, she's about to run for it again. So they're dancing and they're singing cultural songs, going to where that thing is supposed to happen. And she takes off. And so they follow her, but then she goes and I don't know, there's a river, blah, blah, blah. She goes to the other side and there's this woman with a car and the police, and she collapses, and that woman takes her to a center that she runs. And we found out later that how she found out is that one of the friends that was playing with Sanaipe and Ajabu, a boy, was that woman's son. And so they take her. I think they thought at first that she had just been mutilated, but she wasn't. And they take her to this center. There are other girls there who had been rescued. And so she wakes up the next day asking for her mom. Or it was the same day, later on in the same day. She wakes up asking for her mom. She had this photo of her mom and a phone number. The lady at the center tries to call the number. The number is not being picked up. So at night, the others sleep. I think it was the next day now morning when she's awake staring out of the window, and this lady comes in and goes like, I've just spoken to your mom. She's on her way to pick you up. Then later on, Harley comes back and she's like, yeah, I'm here. I'm so sorry I left you. I'm so happy that you're saved. Blah, blah, blah. We're now going to go home and be at peace. She takes her from the frying pan into the fire. This woman, I don't know, the money that was her husband, she took it to repair the house that was her sister-in-law's. That is Naipanoi's house. And Naipanoi actually asked her, did I ever tell you to fix this house for me? Did I ask you for your assistance? I had money from my daughter's dowry. I'd already been given that. It could have helped me. And I'm like, your husband dies and you have money. Instead of, starting a business or whatever to help you and your daughter, you go and live in the village where you're not wanted. And now that your daughter has been saved by somebody else, not you, somebody else saved your daughter. She takes the daughter and goes to her home So it happens that she is Somali. That's why I said from the frying pan into the fire. She is Somali. So the Maasais were doing it and she was against it. But it was done to her, that is highly. And so she does not want it to happen to her daughter. And there's actually a flashback where she was remembering her husband, where the husband was telling her, I don't want my daughter to go through this thing. And so her community also does it. She's hiding her daughter from her own relatives because she does not want them to find out that she's there because they will do the same thing to her, the FGM. And I'm like, why did you even bring her there in the first place? How was that a good idea? How? But anyway, she was hiding there, and actually, Ajabu's step cousin, if I should say, because that girl was Hallie's stepsister's child, was hiding their house and they came looking for her, but she was like, yeah, no, she's not here. Later on, she reveals that she had been hiding in that house. And so she just hugs her and her daughter and they're happy. And the movie ends with Ajabu saying that she's a phoenix and, because she said Olailepo means eagle. And so the movie ends with her saying that she's an eagle, and so she's a phoenix. So she rose from whatever had happened to her. And that's where the movie ends. It was sort of a good movie. It was educational because of the FGM culture. I remember being taught that in school back in the day, but it has been cancelled for such a long time and it's illegal in Kenya actually, that I think because you don't get to hear about it so much, it usually like never even, comes to my mind like, yeah, this is something that has been happening and that is happening. By the way, the lights have gone off again. Just now it's 2:24. I hope this is not going to be a repeat of last week, my God. And as I began saying, like, I hope it won't happen the same way as last week, because I do not understand what is happening in Kasarani and this area actually. Now, first it was water. They're just providing it to us for like a day or 2 days. And now it is electricity. I hope it comes back soon because hey, yawa. Anyway, I'll talk about the movie quickly so that I can end this and record the next one before I go to bed. I did not like a couple of things. So at the table where they were eating dinner, the way Halle was eating, like, taking small slices of food, this thing I see it in Hollywood. I do not understand why any African will be doing that, like chopping your food so tiny. How are you even, like, it's not even chewable. Can you like cut sizes that are chewable? Because that was just a crazy thing that I saw. It's the same thing where Africans act movies and they're in the house in high heels and stuff, and I'm like, why? Who does that in an African home? In a Kenyan home, you're just walking around your house in high heels. Hey, maybe I don't know, maybe the rich do that, but that's crazy. Nothing would make me be in my own house and I'm in heels, walking around the house in heels instead of being comfortable in slippers or something. Jesus. Anyway, they gave a shout out to Charles Bukeko and other people from the Kenyan Film Board that had passed, which I found to be a very, very good thing. I found the acting of the officers who came to tell Halle that her husband had died to be very, very terrible. Actually, the best actors in this movie were Terry Andai, who plays Ajabu, and Glory Kawira, who plays June Sanaipe. These were the two people who acted the best. The others, they were acting like it was rehearsed, like it's a stage play, especially Sanaipe's mom. And then Halle, the way she was acting, I hated it. So at the beginning, when we were introduced to her, the way they were being all cute and kind and lovely, it felt creepy. I remember watching it and I was like, ew, like, why are you behaving like that? And their family dynamic, I know it was supposed to be nice, to sweet. It was, understanding parents and stuff, but it was still creepy. I felt it to be creepy, like the way she was behaving. And then in the village, when the sister-in-law came to call her names and kick her out, she behaved like she was crazy or high. Even when she was crying, it didn't feel like she was crying. It felt like she was high on drugs or drunk instead of actually grieving and, mourning her husband and stuff. I hated the way she was acting, the way she kept moving her head. I don't know. Like the actress, I don't know her, Maureen Coach. Maybe I've seen her in something else. I feel like I've seen her in something else. But the way she acted in this movie, I did not like at all, at all, at all. Maybe it's just a me thing. Maybe I'm being biased, but I hated her acting so much. And the other people, they were acting as if, as I said, it's a play, a stage play, and they're there doing that thing of mashairi and stuff. The best actors were the Glory Kawira and Terry and I. So yeah, I did not like her acting, but you can go and watch it and tell me if you agree or not. And then when Hali comes to pick Ajabu, when she was being kicked out, she was trying to pack her bag at the house, but then she was kicked out and she was running without her handbag and without her bag. But when she comes to pick her up, she has both those things. Where did you get them? When did you pick them up? Did they send them to you via courier or something? Because are we supposed to just pretend like we didn't see that thing happening? So there was some continuity issue there, and I just did not understand. That part where Sanepei passes on, and this mom, Sanepei's mom, the bangle that had been given by that old mzee, this auntie of Ajabu puts it on Ajabu's hand. And I'm like, Nani, why? Why would you do that? Your daughter has died with that thing on. You're taking it off her body, putting it on this other child. And also that entire FGM thing. I understand what it is. I understand it's cultural and stuff. But the one thing I do not understand is why people continue doing it. Even though like Sanaipe had died. You've just lost your child. You've cried over your child, saying all these mean things, and now you are like, oh, I'm going to put my brother's child through the same thing. How selfish can you be? I hated that Naipanui woman like so badly. I hated her. I did not like her. There's this thing that Hali says to Ajabu when she comes to pick her up and in the car, because Ajabu was still, of course, traumatized by what had happened, because she was in the matatu looking at the back. And the mom goes like, the past is just where we were. It doesn't mean anything. And I'm like, it doesn't mean anything to you. Yes, you went through it and you know the pains of it. Your daughter hasn't gone through it, but she has just been through trauma. And instead of being there for her, telling her, good things and encouraging her, you're telling her to forget about what just happened. Like it was nothing. She saw her cousin die. Her cousin died in her arms, actually. And then she was forced to go through the same thing, even though it wasn't complete. But she was about to be forced to do the same thing. And she ran away from it. She saved herself. Where were you as the mom? And then you come back later when she has saved herself and you're like, do not worry about the past. That is where we were. And then you're taking her to another situation where the same thing might happen to her again. As I said, Hailey was the worst actor in that show. Her and Naipanui. But the kids were amazing. Actually, Ajabu cried and tears came out, which was amazing still. So yeah, I give the movie a 5 out of 10 because of what they were talking about, because it's educational. You're supposed to learn from these things and to move on from them, because there's things that are supposed to be left in the past. So I'll give it a 5 out of 10. The other 5 I denied them because of the terrible acting. It was just bad. But I love that they showed Mara. Like, the Mara is a beautiful place. Never been, but the shots they were taking, the aerial views and stuff, they were pretty good. I love that they didn't show us the animals, but like general Mara. So it was beautiful, and I loved seeing that. I don't remember any music that played in this movie, like at all. So I don't know. I don't think there was any. Yeah. So anyway, if you want to watch it and enjoy it for yourself, go to YouTube, watch the movie Rise of the Phoenix, and then come back here and tell me if you agree with my review or if you do not. Okay, remember that I'm still cooking, I'm still baking, so if you're interested, DM me on my TikTok, Mimi's Musings Podcast, and on my Instagram, Mimi's Musings Podcast. And then remember to come back here. Please remember to like, share, subscribe. And by the way, thank you, because I saw the last time we are at 56 subscribers. So continue. And then remember to hit the bell for notifications so that whenever I post something new, you're going to be amongst the first people to come and watch. Okay,